if you're spinning and you're covering areas, you know, the hand's got to come out, and that's the idea of Largo. Okay? The idea of Largo and medium fighting is you're basically waiting to give them that first shot to block. Which I said, you know, you can do it, and there's reasons to practice it, but there's not a lot of good reasons to do it for real. Okay? And the idea of for real of Largo is, hopefully if I'm paying attention to something else, media and portal means that something already screwed up. You didn't notice this person was a threat until they were so close that you were stuck in that range. Okay? Which, what are you doing? What is the situation where you got this close to somebody that's holding a weapon? Okay? Usually, if there's somebody holding something, you would probably, usually know about it when the person gets object fire with a baseball bat and starts running towards you, or they pull you in the bar or something else. Okay? In which case, the idea of Largo is you don't wait for him to take that one shot. If I can start at long range, okay, that's what these are for. It's just the only thing I'm doing is shifting my targets. I'm making his tool, okay, the target. Whether I'm trying to, hit his weapon disarm him, or go for the hands or the legs and disarm the weapons, he gets inside that range, then my attacks are now at them. Okay, but if you can get them sooner, usually when people start attacking you, they usually don't start attacking your arms and hands. They go in to get you. It's a psychological thing. Okay, that's just like fighting. People always want to get there. The madder they are, the closer they want to get. They want to get their hands on it. Okay? So with their first attacks are usually focused on your body. Okay? And your first attacks are centered on their extremities. If you catch it the right way, that gives you a couple of extra shots on the way in. Okay? And again, cheap. Advantages. You don't want fair fights. You want to win. You want to go home. Okay? So that's the idea of doing those things. And these honors, like I said, whether you're fighting or sparring, I'm in close. They're my target. Okay? Except for sometimes I'm shifting with some of the strikes. I can be shifting, and besides, okay, his head's the target, his body's the target, his hands are the target. All I'm doing is just shifting my aim. Okay? I'm back to his head, I'm back to his hands, and I'm back to his legs, and it's all the same. It's all the same pattern. He's a little bit farther away, then all my strikes are aiming at his hands. Okay, his hands, his legs, his extremities that are coming in. He's backing closer. Okay, but now I'm aiming more at him instead of some of the strikes. I may be doing a little bit few more butts and wittocks and everything in close. But it's usually just a matter of you shifting your targets. Okay, but that's mental too. You aren't going to shift to here unless at some point you think of here. Okay, things don't happen automatically. You got to relate to them. Okay, get some water. Stick, you can use a dagger. However, there's a difference if you pick up a single-edged dagger, or if you pick up a double-edged dagger, or if you pick up something with two blades on it, or something sometimes with a shorter blade or something with a longer blade, or if you pick up a shorter stick or a longer stick or a heavier stick or a lighter stick. It is going to matter a little bit. Okay? Principles are the same, but a little bit of difference is using a double-edged blade, and you come across with a single-edged blade, what would normally be a save your life, end the fight thing, will just be an inconvenience for you. So you gotta, you gotta know enough skill about some of the intricacies of the different weights, lengths, etc., etc. We'll just do a little bit with the longer sticks. Okay, a couple of differences on them is they have more momentum. Okay, ideally it's a longer range. If you're using a longer range, if you're taking longer swings, you can develop more power because it's moving faster because it's longer. The end of the weapon moves faster, so this longer end is going to be moving faster than if I was hitting with a shorter stick. So on the one hand, you're going to get more power if you can make use of it. Okay. On the other hand, if you use this and you're hitting up here, you're actually wasting a lot because with the longer weapon, it's going to take you a little slower. It's a longer recovery time. It's a little slower to get there. There's more power when it gets there, but it is going to cost you on some other things. In which case, a lot of times, long hand, there's other ways to shift it at two-hand. Okay, when you're getting closer. Okay, and sometimes you can be using two-handed normally too. Okay, almost like a baseball bat. So we'll just go through just some familiarization of this, and then we'll see where we go from there. All right, right and forward. And to start with, we're just going to go one-handed just for basics. Big thing, some of the big things you want to think of is you got to know how long it is so that you don't try the same techniques and hit the ground or hit walls or hit your partners or something else. Okay? So, and you're usually going to take a little bit longer stance to make use of, because a little greater stability for the longer heavier weapon. All right? And you still want body mechanics. Okay, so to start with, we're just going to, it's still a blade cut, but just using one hand here, just let your body move a little bit. And you want to give it just that little curve on the bottom before it gets to the ground, so you don't have to be looking to make sure you're not going to bounce on the ground. But you just give it that little one. But again, just give it that little turn, okay, with your shoulder. So I'm using my body mechanics on this one. Okay, let your body sway. Stretch it out a little bit. See, I'm throwing my weight into my shoulder, which would transmit out to the end of that stick when I hit it. Okay, the same thing now when you switch hands to the feet. Okay, because I usually wouldn't want to be going across my body like this. It's not going to do me any good. Okay, so just go to shift your front hand. Think blade cut. Turn those shoulders a little bit more forward, a little longer as you're coming down. Okay, keep that other hand close so depending on what you're doing, you can switch your hands a little bit smoother and easier. Okay, and step back and step forward. Okay, keep that other hand close. And step back and step forward. And once more, step back and step forward. Okay, and helicopter. Okay, and bring it down. And so I've got two hands here to change direction. Okay, if you're not hitting something, a lot of times because this is a longer, heavier, because it's a longer, heavier weapon, it's not as easy to stop and change directions. Okay, so if you are going to stop, it's usually easier to get back with two hands. Okay, so I'm using those two hands to switch directions. Okay? Stretch it forward. Okay, and two hands to switch directions. Okay, and two hands, and helicopter. Okay, now make it a diagonal and come back to helicopter. Okay, we'll do three. Okay, 1, 2, 3, diagonal. 1, 2, 3. So you're splitting your targets. Take that leg. Because the easy thing with this right now is I'm taking heads and arms, but people will be going under. So when you switch, you cover the angle down, especially down below, you split that target. Bones. Okay, so ankle bone, shin bone. 3, and switch. 2, 3, leg. 1, 2, 3, leg. 1, 2, 3, leg. 1, 2, 3, leg, and switch your grips. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Go to two hands and bring it back up. Okay. Now, two hands. You can switch directions here and back up. Now I've got my shoulder here, so instead of going way out, let your wrist break and let it wrap back around you. Okay, so I can absorb some of the momentum for a quicker change. Two hands. Okay. Two hands to absorb. Two hands to absorb and change to be able to stop and come back up again. So again, if you're going full speed, it's going to take you, the time to go in would be boom. When it passes your target, that's when they're going to be rushing. So you got to be able to get back in business quickly. Okay, and switch. Okay, now turn it right away. Because you're generally not across your body twist. You're going opposite direction. Okay? So as much as possible, you're going to be trying to go with your feet, with the direction of your feet. Or you can be stepping. And then get your shoulder going, lean into it, make this in range. Okay? And two hands. And catch with two hands. And catch with two hands. And helicopter. Diagonal and back to a helicopter. Okay, and diagonal and stop it. Okay, now, coming down, what you see now when you're coming down here, you can feel this is slower. That's why you usually be going across your body. Okay? Alright, and then come across it. Okay, down. So if you're coming low, you usually be, looping somewhere because, again, with a longer, heavier weapon, more momentum, you wouldn't be able to do all the stop and changes of directions unless you hit something that was stopped. If I hit something and it was stop, now I can change directions. Okay, but if I'm not hitting something, if I hit too hard and fast, I'm not going to be able to stop it. Instead of trying to stop it and change directions, I would be just trying to make use of more circles and loops, okay, to change directions instead of stopping. Okay, because you're just trying to keep, okay, you're trying to keep it going the whole time. Unless it's stopped, now you change directions. Okay? Alright, so helicopter, diagonal, down and up. Okay, diagonal down. Okay, come through the leg and let it twist around, and right away come back again. Okay, so you got to be using shoulder. Okay, now add that loop on the one side and the other. Okay, but you're ready to come back on it and give yourself a little fast. You see, I'm longer and I'm lower, so I can make use of my legs and my hips a little bit more. And splitting targets, think of where you're going. Okay. Sure. Okay, and then work back into your angle, your diagonal again. And switch. Okay, and left hand. Remember it's splitting targets, legs. Okay, legs and hips. Body, if someone gets into the body, okay, you're hitting arms instead of something here. That's what you want to do. If you're fighting somebody largos, if you can get inside the stick, body shots or something are not really going to be as much as heads or legs if you can't get bones out of the way down there. And the thing is with head shots is heads move a lot easier. Okay, so I mean if you're fighting somebody with the long hand, you're trying to, if they're going to the body, that's what you're going to take. Because if you're inside that end, once you're in here, you know, you can absorb a lot. Okay, so one of the most important things with the long weapons is being able to move so you can maintain your range. Okay, and again, split the targets, ankle bones, shin bones, good. Not so much body. Head's good, except for the fact that it moves a little bit easier. Okay, hands and arms are good. Okay? Alright, now, we're going to two hands, okay? Switch. Okay? And diagonal. Now what you want to do is you want to coordinate this. Now that I'm going to two hands, I can make a little shorter stance for movement, or I can take a little longer stance for power. Okay, now let's go a little bit shorter for movement here. Then you want to time it so that, okay, well, we'll do it easier. We'll step. Okay? Step forward. Shift a little bit. Remember, down. No, that's all right. Alright, down toward the wrist. Okay, and step back. And make sure that the shoulders are shifting when you come back. Okay? And step forward and shoulder shift. And step back. And step back. Time it. Okay, so it's with that step if you can. And left. Okay, and back. One. And back. Two. Okay, now forward the helicopter. 1, 2, 3. Now diagonal. Because if we were to switch directions, we wouldn't be able to stop and switch directions up here. Let it come through and switch feet. Then you can switch directions. Okay, same thing. Let it come down, and then you can switch. See when it comes down, now I can use my whole body to get it going back again in the other direction. Okay, bring it down, use your whole body to get it going faster. Okay, bring it down, and use your whole body to get it going faster. Use it hip and shoulder. Okay, and back. Diagonal. Okay, and back. And back. And forward. Forward. Now think a little more forward, weight. Now back. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now. Okay, stay here this time. Okay, we're going to do this time just to give you a little bit more range. So we're going to, okay, forward. Okay, so back up a little bit so you got room to go forward. Okay, we'll take a jump and a loop. Okay, so loop, go. 1, loop, 2, loop, 3, loop, 4. Okay, now as we're backing up, timing's a little bit different. Okay, 1, 2, 3, because when we're hitting, we want that weight shifted when we're hitting. Okay, because I don't want to be my weight on my back leg while I'm swinging down. I want my weight on my front leg when I'm hitting. Okay, again, loop, 1, loop, 2, loop, 3. Okay, and backwards. 1, 2, 3. Switch. Okay, loop, 1, loop, 2, loop, 3. Backwards. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and switch. Okay, now we'll just step it, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, switch. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, right again. Okay, all right, now, what we're going to do this time is when we're going to change, we're going to jump. Small jump, okay? 3 times. 1, 2, 3, jump. Okay, switch your feet. Switch your feet. Okay, 1, 2, 3, jump. 2, 3, switch. 2, 3, jump. Okay, now, watch your glutes. Okay, you shouldn't be going all the way in front of my body here. I'm missing, okay? That's why I'm going to turn my shoulders a little more bladed, so I'm cutting it at an angle. Because this straight down is too easy to avoid. So I'm taking a little more of an angle to cover my whole body. Okay, 1, 2, 3, jump. 2, 3, jump. 2, 3, jump. 2, 3, jump. Okay, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay? Back up a little bit. Okay, we'll go 1. Okay? Alright, we'll go a little slower. Okay, ready? And 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You're supposed to be swinging with that. Okay, work that for a couple of seconds. Very good. Ladles. Step and sure, we try not to go across the foot, but step with them. The fastest, easiest way outside knees, elbows, and everything else you're grappling, usually the fastest way if somebody gets inside is go to 2 hands. Okay? That's going to be the fastest way to get power, because you got to remember the difference from out here on your threat time, on your reaction time. Okay? From out here to in here, there is no way you can react to this thing except for maybe some grappling. The only way you can get any speed out of this in here is you got to get to a 2-hand grip right away. And then you've got your short base, those things used for ride control and everything else. Now I've got more power for blocking and I've got speed coming back and forth either way. So you got to be able to switch. If anything is out here, if it gets to the inside, usually your fastest is going to be an immediate switch to 2-hand. Okay? Flip on your bandana. Alright, we're going to flip on your clippers. Okay? Alright, so we'll just do some switches on that here. Okay? So 2-handed, okay, and step back. And just put a 2-handed. Okay? So we're 1-handed, okay? You go to 2-handed. You're 2-handed here, okay? Just slip out there 2-handed. Okay? We're 1-handed. Okay? And we're going to go 2-handed. Okay? And we're 2-handed. And we're going to 2-handed. Okay? And switch. And switch. And switch. Okay, you're switching feet on here, you might be switching grips. Okay? Alright, and switch. Alright, now, thrust. Okay, alright, 1. Thrust. Okay, punch. Punch down. Okay? Alright, thrust. Punch down. Thrust. Punch down. Thrust now. You can bring it up. You can bring it up to get back to ride control. The problem is this is where it easily gets hard. And you have less leverage up here. Okay, I don't have as much power if I run up here if he gets a hold of it as I do down here. I've got a lot better control in this stronger position. So, I mean, the problem is you could come down here, but it's this high, it's pretty, not as kind of awkward position to use. It's like a little more dangerous. Alright, thrust. Alright, now punch, just level. Just like you're throwing a hook. Okay, if you hit with the end of the stick, that's fine. Okay, if you hit with the hand, that's fine. If you hit with half and half, that's fine. Okay? So just like you're throwing a body hook, and just like you're throwing a hook with this, it's the same thing. You hit with the end, you hit with your fist, it doesn't matter. Okay? So thrust, punch, punch. Hip, hip. Okay? Get some slack. Okay? Thrust, punch, punch, thrust, punch, punch, thrust, punch, punch, punch down. Okay, leg, abdomen, groin, okay, and cross chest, push. You can give some people, you can knock somebody back real far, okay, right across the chest, right across the sternum. Okay, pop them back. Okay? Thrust, punch, punch, punch down. Pop. Thrust, punch, punch, punch down, pop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Switch back to two-hand grip. Okay? And step back. Okay? Thrust, punch, punch, down, pop. Okay? And go two-hand left hand. Okay? And slide out. Okay, okay, step back. Switch, go this way. Okay, thrust, punch, punch. Okay, we'll repeat that. Thrust, punch, punch. Right down like floating ribs, or wherever they're open. Your arms are in the way, go ahead. Okay, thrust, punch, punch, thrust, punch, punch, thrust, punch, punch. All right, punch down. And cross chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and back. Okay, and switch. And switch. Okay, and slide out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and moving forward. 1, 2, 3, and shift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then back up. 1, 2, 3. Then get inside. Shift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And shift. 1, forward, 2, shift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Forward. 1, 2, and they're in close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Backing up. 1, 2, they're in close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Retreating. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And stepping. One-handed stepping. One-handed stepping. Okay? Switch to two-hand, one-hand helicopter. Bring it down and switch. One-hand helicopter. Okay? And one hand a little bit bigger diagonal. 1, then 3 helicopters. 2, 3, 1, 2. Now forward. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And bring it down and switch. And 1, 2, 3, diagonal. 1, 2, 3, and forward. 1, 2, 3, diagonal. 1, 2, 3, diagonal. Back. 1, 2, 3, diagonal. 1, 2, 3, diagonal. And forward. And forward. Okay, and forward. And back. And back. And back. And jumping forward. Switching. 1, 2, 3, and retreating. 1, 2, 3, and circle. Okay? Alright, and forward. Okay, now pull. Just rip across. This can be, it can be a thrust, it can be a hook, it can be a thrust, it can be a hook, it can be a disarm, it can be a thrust, it can be a hook. Almost the same idea as a strong kick. It's just a hooking motion. Same thing you can use the butt end for. Okay? Alright, so think thrust or hook. Okay? Think to the body. Take it through the body and twist. Stick and twist. You take it the end of the weapon inside. Okay? His arm. Okay? Take the arm and thrust and hook to spin him around. Okay? Alright, so take his arm and hook. Okay? Thrust, and you're hitting. You're not just saying it, you're to think of hit him and rip it across. Hit, rip it across. And the same thing up to his head or neck. Hit, rip it down. Okay? Hit, rip it down. Hit, rip it down. Now same thing with the player. Okay? Reach up and hook down. Okay? You wouldn't necessarily come up and do this, but if I did something here and I ended up on that side, I could come back. Okay? So thrust, punch, hook it back. 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 Alright? Punch up. Okay? Thrust, punch up. Thrust, punch up. Thrust, punch up. Okay? Put it over the head. You're up over his head, bring it down. Whether you're bringing him down or bringing him down into a knee. Okay, use this grappling too. This is perfect for grappling because I can get a wider grip around his body. Okay, for more leverage. If you're up behind his back, you can bring it close. Okay, remember here, the idea of a stick of a weapon for pressure point is the weapon doesn't feel any pain. You squeeze it. You don't have to worry about, I can't put any pressure any harder because of my wrist or my thumb or whatever else. You can squeeze this as hard as you can. Okay, and it'll cause pressure. Okay, all right, so punch up, butt, hook down. Okay, so we need those. Okay, now, I want you to do for a couple of seconds. Hold a different partner. Okay, hold a different partner. And what I want you to do is, right now, we'll just stand in a somewhat threatening manner. Okay, all right, now, the other person I want you to do is just take a few seconds, okay, and I can be practicing, okay, being careful not to hit, being careful that if I'm switching, okay, you want to be able to control, okay, because right now, see, I'm managing to getting enough body mechanics into my hip and shoulders that even if I was going hard and fast, I'd be able to get a fast switch, okay, whereas if he was closing in there, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to be going to a two-handed grip, okay, but as long as I have distance, there are ways that you can break some of the rules, not so much breaking them, but you've got to have more body mechanics to do it because we can't get that instantaneous switch. Okay, but I'm going to start with long hand, okay, and maybe Pat will just stand there first. And I'll be working here whether I'm working one-handed, switching, okay, or whether I'm working, okay, one hand, two hands, okay, some jumps, whatever else here. I'll work this way. We'll go back and forth a couple of times. Then, what I want to do is I'm going to work from one hand or two hands. I'm going to work Largo, and I'm going to move in and close and throw a few different things. Okay? Stay down on the ground. This group didn't get that. Oh, okay. Okay, so just easy, but again, especially if you've never done this before, stationary target, almost the same idea as one step, but you're not doing it. Stationary target, work some one-handed, work some two-handed, work some switching of the feet, take your time, think of your targets that you're aiming for, do it back and forth, have one person walking a little bit while you're doing your task. Make sure you stay far enough away that you can just concentrate on doing something instead of pulling something. Okay, and then the person stands there and start with a couple of long, work into short, okay, work back to long, work back to short, do a few, work back to long. Okay, so you break in a little bit. Okay, go ahead. Just like, short, about 10 seconds each and switch. That's where you're doing your switching. Okay, but don't hit and pull back. Because you probably wouldn't be able to. You probably wouldn't have the time to. Or don't take it for granted that you would. Okay? All right, go ahead. Remember, for any, again, we go through this every time and because it's important. Went through it yesterday again. For you to respond to any threat, okay? And this is important because at least one of the reasons that you're doing this is because why would you be practicing self-defense? Is because someone's attacking, right? Besides all the other benefits, but at least one of the important ones is you better be able to protect yourself. All right, now, if that's the case, for you to respond to a threat, number one, again, I always repeat this, but again, it's important. For you to respond to a threat, three things have to happen. Your mind has to recognize, you have to perceive it's a threat. Okay? Two, you're taking for granted that at some point in your life, you have trained in, you have thought about that particular threat and what you would do. What do you do if somebody grabs you by the neck? What do you do if somebody grabs your wrist? Because if you've never thought about it before, if never entered your mind it could happen, chances are there is no plan there. There is nothing that you would do. So you try and have plans. So you've thought about, well, what would I do if? And better yet, you practice. Okay, do this and I'll practice this. Do this and I'll practice that. And you repeat it. The more you practice, the fresher it is, the faster you are, the stronger you are doing it, the closer it is to your short-term memory. All right. Then the third thing is, now that you have perceived as a threat, okay, and you've decided what you should do, okay, not decided, but you have remembered what you should do, okay, now the third thing is you have to physically perform that motion. Okay, so I'm thinking, oh, someone's punching at me. The proper option at this point is I better duck and block it. Okay, now I have to duck and block. All right, so now that happens very quickly, but that's what happens. Okay, now so I mean, you know, bear that in mind, and remember that with your training, a couple of things. And again, another one of the important points you got to remember: you will do, if you practice properly, hopefully you will do what you practice. Okay, be careful that you don't get too good at something you don't want to get good at, or remember to keep your priorities, you know, in effect. Now, you could train yourself, again, by practicing and practicing and practicing. You could train yourself that in response to someone throwing a kick, a round kick at you above the belt, that you are going to block and turn and do you're going to block and throw a right cross, pulling it to his head, because you're thinking you practice tournament techniques all the time. Okay? Now, if you practice that a lot, then that's going to be the freshest thing in your mind, and it's most likely that's what you're going to do. Okay? Whereas, if the majority of your practice you did keeping in mind street tactics, street techniques, then if I was blocking and kicking, probably in the first place it wouldn't be a kick at the belt, I'd be probably blocking a little bit lower, and maybe I would be either going for his face or his throat, or I'd be going, not for, you know, any kick high, I'd be going for taking the leg out. And I wouldn't be thinking of, here, I remember, I always forget which knee you have and which knee you don't. Okay, instead of thinking something like, you know, this, okay, doing this here, I would be thinking doing this type of thing here, where I'm just blasting through it instead of, you know, this. Okay? So on the one hand is, which one is the freshest in your mind? Tournament reactions, or demonstration reactions, or less dangerous reactions, or the more dangerous reactions? Okay? Now, personally, I would always want myself and anybody that I have anything to do with for their life-preserving actions to be foremost on their mind. It's good to have all the rest, and it's important. There's reasons to have everything else. Just like I said, you know, we practice, you know, multiple kicks, jump kicks, all kinds of neat fun stuff that don't have anything to do with you know, any self-defense situations. But they practice coordination, you know, muscular, body mechanics, everything else. There's reasons to do it. But self-defense isn't one of them, except for the fact that your coordination, your conditioning, and everything will get better. But so you know, primarily, I would wish that people had your first, fastest concern was the one that's going to be the most dangerous and save your life. Now that means that there's all kinds of threats, and there's all kinds of threat levels. Okay, now, the threat that you're facing, is it going to be serious or not serious? See, that's just like you go back to police work, okay? And what are we taught? Okay, 99% of the time, what do we push for control tactics? Or what do we push for self-defense? We don't. We train control tactics. Well, that's great if you have someone that can be controlled. But if the threat is real serious, they aren't going to be controlled, because pain is not a motivator. Their motivation is they want to rip your face off. Okay? Now, someone that is normal, you know, like somewhat stable, not totally drunk, crazed, emotionally disturbed, or anything else, I can use pressure points and locks and all kinds of neat fun stuff. Somebody that is out of, you go to somebody in domestic abuse and they are just whacked out, their heart rate's at 300, you know, they just got done biting the throat out of their wife or something else, you know, or their husband, and they're just pumped. Pain is not a motivator, okay? You can do all the wrist locks and pressure points you want, and they're going to continue to be biting your throat out, okay? Now, in the first situation, if you're, and what do we always teach people? That the first thing you respond with is control tactics, and if that doesn't work, then you escalate. Well, okay, but maybe we're going about that backwards, okay? Maybe the first thing we should train in is the most dangerous stuff, the stuff that if it doesn't work off the top of your head, in other words, option number 1 should be the one that's going to save your life if it's most dangerous. Option 2, 3, or 4, you got time to think about those because it's not as dangerous. So my option of grabbing by the arm or wrist locking should be maybe 3 or 4 down the list instead of making it number 1. Okay, so that's the same thing here. What brought this up? Gary was talking about different positions on your grips and everything too. Now, if you're in close, okay, there's times, you know, I might have disarmed or I might have half lost the weapon, and I might end up like this. Not the best, but it happens. So I want to be able to use this in some ways. It's not going to be as effective, but I want to be able to use it that way. Not that I plan to, because that's what happened. All right. But even though I want to be able to do it, that's not my primary training. My primary training is going to be here. Okay? Now the same thing with this. And when you're swinging, you should be able to switch grips, because you know what? Things happen. Okay? Whether you're being disarmed, maybe they're being disarmed, you know, for whatever reason. I'm switching grips, I'm switching hands. You should be able to use this no matter where you grab it. You should be able to use it in some ways. Some ways are going to be more effective, some ways are going to be less. But what you should do is try and train in the most effective ones first, because those are the ones that, if your life is really in danger, that better be the reaction that draws out. Okay, so if you train in the most effective one first, okay, that would be trying to get to this grip, because against disarms, strength-wise and close, this is going to be your safest against disarms and your strongest. This you can use for a lot of things, but if you're wrestling, and again, you got to remember, a threat level out here is a lot different than a threat level in here. A threat level out here, if things don't work quite perfect, I might have a little bit of time to change, okay, or to recover. A threat level in here, if something is not quite right, I don't have the time, okay, I don't have the time to change a lot of things. You know, because somebody's throat could be like that, or somebody's eyeball could be right there. So the closer you get, the more dangerous it is, because the faster you have to react. All right, so usually the more dangerous ones, that's why, I mean, we spend a lot of time in close fighting and everything else. Why? Do we want to be close? No, but the difference is, if we're out here, I have a little more time. If we get in closer, I don't have the time. Therefore, I don't want to be in closer, most of it usually. But if I am in there, I better react faster than out here. It's more important that I react to a dangerous threat than a less dangerous threat. Okay? If somebody makes a threatening move towards where they might have a weapon, okay, towards where they might have a weapon, my first reaction should not be to go in and try and grab his elbow. My first reaction of anything like that, because that is the highest danger level it could be, my first reaction should be, I'm moving to cover while I'm trying to get my weapon out. Because that's the most dangerous thing. Okay? Now, if I had it trained in that I'm going to go and blanket his elbow first, if that's the first option, I just train myself to die. Okay? So what you want to usually do, as much as possible, train in against the most dangerous conditions. Okay? And you always have time to take the option 2, 3, or 4. You have a little more time for. Okay? But the option 1, you usually aren't going to have any time. It's going to be, what's there? What's on the top of your mind? That's your reaction. Now, is that reaction against somebody that wants to really, they're motivated to kill you no matter what? Or is it somebody that's just motivated to get away, or to threaten you, or to posture, or whatever else? Because if it's any of the other things, you've got time. If it's to take you out, you don't have time. So, think about that when you're training. The one you think about the most, usually make option number 1 the safest against the most dangerous thing you can come up against. Okay? Because if that's not option 1, you might not have time. If that's option 4 or 5, you probably aren't going to have time to get to it. Okay? Train yourself, and that's the whole reason the Philippine Arts that you're doing weapons. Why are you doing weapons first? Okay? Because if someone's going to beat you up with their hands and feet, you may get hurt, but you usually can come back and try, oh, my boxing wasn't very good. I need to work on that. I need to work on ducking my head. My grappling, I got beaten, I got put in a lock, and I had to tap out. Okay, we come back and we train and we practice. But if somebody is trying to kill you, if it doesn't work, you aren't going to come back and try hard. Okay, so I mean, option number 1, you know, that's what I said. Getting back to the 3 things: threat recognition, recognizing, remembering what option to use, and then physically performing that option. Okay, when you start looking through short-term memory there, okay, you actually have a bunch of different options. Which one do you want to train in first? That's what you want to remember. Okay, that's what you want to remember. Think of the most dangerous situation, train for that one first, and that'll keep you, that's your best chance of staying alive. Okay? If the one to stay alive is option 5 or 6, and you've got a bunch of other ones first, you'll probably either try those other ones first and they won't work, or else you'll think about those other ones first before you decide, no, none of these will work, I better try this. Well, okay, it doesn't take that long, but it does take longer than if you just did this in the first place. Okay? So, because I mean, there's lots of reasons to do lots of things. Well, the first reason to do anything with this should be save your life if you need to. Okay? So, I mean, when you're talking grips, anything else, you always think the optimal way. You train to do the other ways too. But the first way, you try and reinforce, no, don't do that, do this. Don't go across your body, go with your body. I can go across my body if I have to, but generally, almost all the time, I want to be thinking I'm doing it this way. Why? Because if my life depends on it, this is going to be stronger, faster, easier, and more effective. Can I go this way if I have to? Yes, but it won't be as safe, strong, and effective. Okay, so I will train some stuff this way like we already did, but the majority of stuff, I want to keep thinking reinforced this way, this way, this way, this way. Why? Because if I really need it, that's the most effective way. Okay, you understand? So you got to train everything else, but it's just option one. You always want to keep freshest in your mind against the most dangerous situation, because that's the one that's going to kill you the fastest. That's what I call it. Got that? Good. Oh, okay. Okay, where are we? All right, a little bit longer on those things. Now that you remember those. Just a couple more minutes on the two-handed stuff. Okay? Yeah, the partners again. Breaking in. And this I add a little bit of movement